The U.S. Arab Radio Network is proud to offer the Ray Hanania Show with veteran journalist Ray Hanania, the U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper. U.S. Arab Radio broadcasts content Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, WDMV 700 in Washington, D.C., and simulcast through stations around the country. Programs will rerun from 5 till 6 p.m. Visit us on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio, and we're also streaming live on Facebook.com/Arab News.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Ray Hanania Radio Show. It's Wednesday, August 18, 2021, and we are live on WNZK AM 690 Radio in Detroit and WDMV Radio in Washington, D.C., as well as on the U.S. Arab Radio Network at arabradio.us, and live streaming the show through Zoom on the Facebook page of Arab News, which has more than 5 million followers at facebook.com/Arab News, if you'd rather watch us and listen at the same time. Some people just want radio. Some people want to watch us. We got two topics we're going to do during this hour this morning. In the first segment, we got a great guest, Nadim Shehadi. He is the executive director of the Lebanese American University in New York. That's where their headquarters are at. It's an academic center. And he's an associate fellow of the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House in London. He was previously the director of the Ferris Center for Eastern Mediterranean Studies at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. He's going to help us understand what's going on in Lebanon. Such a terrible tragedy. When we're done at the bottom of the hour at 8:30 Eastern, in segment 2, we're going to look at the worsening situation, the spiraling challenges in Afghanistan, with Afghanistan's first female pilot, Niloofar Rahmani, who is also the co-author of the book Open Skies, My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot, which she wrote with co-writer Adam Sikes. And we're also going to be joined by Arab News correspondent Baker Atyani, who is covering Afghanistan as the Taliban have taken control. So we're going to get a little perspective on what it really means. Is how bad is it? Is it as bad as everybody thinks, or maybe there's going to be some kind of acceptable level? But right now I want to welcome Nadim Shehadi. Nadim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Lebanon is so important. It's such a beautiful country, and people that have been there like me, and I'm sure yourself and other Lebanese and many Arabs, we look at that tragedy and wonder what is going on. Can you hear me, Nadim?
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay. That's all right. Thank you. Technology is technology.
I can hear you now. You can hear me too.
Yes, go ahead. So what do you think of? Tell us what is going on with Lebanon. I know that we've had a series of tragedies. A year ago, the explosion, but even before that, issues with government criticism of the government, and now it's like they can't even form a government. What's happening in Lebanon today?
Ray, if you can still hear me.
Yes.
I think the electricity just went off, and I have to I am connected to my 4G. So
yeah, I can see you sound great. You sound great.
Exactly. So that's what's going on. As we were talking, the electricity went off.
And you're in Lebanon.
So I'm in Lebanon now. I'm in the mountains, and I had this 4G connection using my mobile as a hotspot. Now, to charge my mobile as a hotspot, they've run out of cards in the shop. Why? Because there's no fuel for the delivery to bring.
Wow.
The cards. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what's happening day to day, including a very tragic situation with hospitals, with schools, with universities. It's like a total collapse of everything in the country. And it's, people are just not believing what's happening. It's just like you feel you're in a stage of history like in the days of the fall of big cities, or there are so many dead cities around the Mediterranean, and I mean, even as recently as the 19th century or the early 20th century, Smyrna was one of the most important ports in the Mediterranean. Now nobody knows where it is. So you feel you're in that stage that it could be irreversible. So yeah, I think that's what's very hard to it's not like you feel that you're in a problem that's complicated, but it can be resolved. I think the feeling is that it could never be resolved. It could be an irreversible process.
How widespread are the problems? I mean, just the issue that we were having with you this morning should touch people and let them understand that when we talk about this turmoil, it isn't just politics. It's economic, and the economic issues drill all the way down to such basic things as, cell phone use and internet and trying to connect. It's that really hits home really hard. How are people surviving there?
Well, some people are not surviving well. Some people who need dialysis, some people who need medicine for chronic diseases, some people who need operations are not surviving well. When things settle down and we have a banking system operating, it will get better because you will have access to everything if you have the money. But this is not really an economic problem. I mean, the economic problem is a reflection of the political situation and of, if you like, of historic changes in the region.
And tell us about what's the one thing that needs to be done right away to try to get Lebanon back on track? Is there something that can be done, or are we witnessing the collapse of a country?
Well, I mean, you are witnessing the collapse of a whole order, of a whole regional order, not just of a country. We are part of that regional order. So is Palestine, so is Syria, so is Iraq, so is Yemen, so is the Gulf, and we are witnessing a sort of a historic change, which has a lot of consequences. That's. I mean, I'll give you an example of a historic change. There is a city in southern Jordan called Ma'an. Yeah.
Right.
Ma'an used to be the intersection of all the caravan routes from the days of the Nabateans, to Petra, to Baalbek, to Tadmor, to Palmyra and all that. It was the intersection of the Hijaz Railway in the early. It was also the intersection of the Hajj big caravans that used to go from Cairo, from Damascus, from Jerusalem, from Istanbul. When people started going through the Suez Canal and flying to Jeddah on charter flights, Ma'an died. So now Ma'an is completely out of the picture. I mean, it's a city which is very run down. Which all you hear about Ma'an is infighting between tribes, and it's problematic. It's a dead city. So the same thing happened in places like Smyrna, like Alexandria, so it's the feeling I have is that of that kind of transformation. It's not a small problem that can be resolved. It's a problem that's regional. The core of it is political, and the whole region could go one way or the other.
Yeah, and usually when people think of turmoil in government, we think of, yes, there'll be some economic chaos, there'll be problems with transportation as there is now, the fuel shortages that I don't think people understand when you have a fuel shortage, it just doesn't impact your car. It impacts everything, comes to a standstill in a country. But still, people wonder, okay, but there are people, why can't they just come together and make it work? Are people trying to stop Lebanon from getting back on its feet? I mean, I'm sure that there are other countries in the region that, maybe just south and west of Lebanon that would love to see Lebanon collapse, but for political reasons. But are there outside factors that are causing this turmoil? Do you think they want it to happen? Are there forces that want to see Lebanon come to its knees?
I mean, I don't think one can frame it in terms of like a conspiracy to make Lebanon come to its knees. You have a geopolitical change in the region, which is basically that the regional order that was mainly maintained by the United States, Pax Americana,
right,
is crumbling. American influence, Western influence is I mean, it's very similar to what happened in Afghanistan, but except that in Afghanistan it happened in three days, and here it's happening slow motion. If the United States, the United States left Syria, and look at the mess. Iraq is a mess. Yemen is a mess. Lebanon is a mess. And the Gulf could be in a serious mess. And the United States itself could be in a serious mess, because if the United States is no longer a superpower, it will affect the dollar being a the global reserve currency.
The stability.
So your government will not be able to print $4 trillion and distribute it to you so that you vote for them next time. They won't be able to do that in the same way as they're doing it now. I mean, what the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are doing is they're printing dollars and buying their own bonds, and they call it the stimulus. So anyway, they will not be able to do that if the dollar was not the global reserve. So it is lots of connected issues. Part of the conflict between Iran and the United States, which we are living through. And this is not the first time we go into paralysis. If you look at the last 15 years, in the last 15 years we had a series of assassinations, beginning with Prime Minister Hariri, that went on for 4 or 5 years. We had a war with Israel. We had 19 months of paralysis in 2006, 2008, 29 months of paralysis in 2013, 2016, without a government, without a parliament, no elections, no president. This was all political paralysis. And all these factors have an economic cost. I mean, you've seen what happens to New York when it's paralyzed, to what happens to cities when the economy stops working. We live on tourism and services and education and medicine and all these services that rely on people coming to Lebanon and on expats, like a lot of your audience. Also maintaining homes here and having families and coming for the summer and all that. So most of our economy is reliant on exchanges with the Gulf states. I mean, you have 350,000 Lebanese who work in the Gulf states. They are the main source of foreign investment, tourism, banking, deposits, and all that. And we've been isolated from the Gulf states in the last 2 years. So all these cumulative political and economic factors eventually collapse an economy.
We're on the line with Nadim Shehadi. He's the executive director of the Lebanese American University in New York, where it's headquartered, but has academic centers around the world. And he's an associate fellow of the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House in London. Nadim, we're going to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we will continue this discussion about Lebanon and the challenges it faces. Maybe we can talk about the chances of seeing the government stabilize. I know they don't have a government, and President Michel Aoun said he hoped a new Lebanese government would be formed. But we can tackle that when we come back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
While we've been staying safe at home, scientists have been on a journey. The destination, a COVID-19 vaccine. This journey began decades ago with research into other coronaviruses. Scientists built from there with months of research and development, cooperation with other experts worldwide, and clinical trials on tens of thousands of volunteers of diverse race, age, and health status. They arrived at a safe, effective vaccine, and hundreds of thousands in Michigan have already been vaccinated. But the next step is ours. We need to get the vaccine when we can. Keep wearing masks correctly and taking precautions until we reach our destination, freedom from COVID-19 and getting back to the lives we love. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is proud to offer the Ray Hanania Show with veteran journalist Ray Hanania, the U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper. U.S. Arab Radio broadcasts content Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, WDMV 700 in Washington, D.C., and simulcast through stations around the country. Programs will rerun from 5 till 6 p.m. Visit us on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio, and we're also streaming live on Facebook.com/Arab News.
And welcome back. This morning we're talking with Nadim Shehadi, who is executive director of the Lebanese American University in New York, where the headquarters are at and academic centers around the world. We're talking, of course, about Lebanon and the collapse of when Hezbollah says, geez, we better get a government formed, otherwise we're facing total anarchy. you know that things have to be bad then, right, Nadeem?
Yes, absolutely. And they've been having a taste of that recently. So I think everybody's wants to have it, but I think to understand what's happening also, you have to understand the generational divide. You have a new generation that are in full-blown revolutionary mode. They are rejecting everything, the whole political class. Their slogan is all means all. So it's Hezbollah, it's Hariri, it's all that. And they don't recognize these political divisions. These are people who did not live the civil war, who were barely 5-6 years old when Hariri died. So the main divisions in the country don't mean much to them. They've lost faith in the political system. And so in parallel to that, you have a political class that is, I have to say it, that is brilliant at making deals and making compromises, and that's how the country survives normally. But that has reached a dead end. They cannot make more deals. Basically, there's no compromise to be had, and so you have a dead end on the political class, and you have a revolution in the streets.
Do you think
I think it is healthy? I think there is part of it is healthy because it's like a reset, Lebanon can reset. Other countries in the region cannot. I mean, we have a lot of political tension, but people still live together and behave in a civil manner. They disagree, and even people who disagree, radically on politics, you find that this kind of Lebanese coexistence is still there. And I'm sure you have it in Detroit also. You have it in New York. You have it among the whole diaspora. Some problems are not easy to solve, and some problems are not. We don't have all the elements. We cannot resolve all these problems. So there was a compromise reached. There was a compromise reached in 2012 with Hezbollah, between the Hariri people and Hezbollah, which was brokered by the late Dr. Muhammad Shatah, who was an advisor to Hariri and a former ambassador to Washington and IMF official and minister of finance and all that. So his compromise was that we should agree and we should recognize that our views are irreconcilable, but we should at the same time recognize that we cannot resolve them. The problems we are dealing with have to do with broader conflicts between Israel and Iran and the United States and Saudi Arabia and all that. We cannot resolve them. So his proposal was to in a way make Lebanon neutral from these problems. That we agree amongst ourselves that even if we can't stand each other, we can't agree, we can still have electricity running, we can still have the services, and we can spare the economy, and we can spare the country from being the battleground of the conflict.
Well, I know that when we talk about a national reset, which is just hard to wrap my head around, a whole country resetting, but I understand what you're saying. When we look at a place like Detroit, for example, that had economic chaos and problems, they had other people around them who could come in, help them stand up, help them get back on their feet. The only I don't see that happening with Lebanon. Who can this is going to have to be help from inside Lebanon, right? Or do you see some
Lebanon cannot solve its problems in isolation, and it cannot live in isolation. The whole history of the country and the whole prosperity of the country is based on it being an open society and a free society. This is why the prosperity of the country was based on receiving all the elite of the region. We had people from Palestine in 48, from Egypt in 52 and 56, from Iraq in 58, from Syria in the 60s. In the 30s, we had people from southern Turkey. And before that, we had the Armenians, we had Greeks, it's an open country. We receive a lot of talent from the region. You can see it in our food, in the music, in everything, and it's the basis of our existence. That's our identity. That's why if Lebanon becomes a closed society, if it becomes another Gaza, it will not survive. A lot of people will do.
Do you think that in the end, if this ever gets back on track, and I'm sure Lebanon will get back on track, I can't imagine it not, because there's so many great Lebanese, very successful out there who will do everything possible to save it. If Lebanon gets back on track, though, do you see them still living under the same, for example, the political confessional system that exists now? Do you see what kind of changes do you think might happen to Lebanon that maybe people didn't expect?
Yes. Now, this is a very important question because, someone my age knows the advantages of the political system. The new generation have never experienced it and don't understand it.
Right.
I find the secular nationalism of a place like Turkey abhorrent. Turkey imposed a uniform, homogeneous identity on its citizen and massacred, expelled, or suppressed anyone that didn't fit in it. And sometime in the West, you feel people celebrate Turkey as a secular, homogeneous state. I don't see that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Arab nationalism. That's me. That's not.
Right.
Lebanon is very different from the homogenizing identity of Arab nationalism, like Nasserism or Baathism or that. In fact, we benefited from that because everybody who could not fit there came to us. Alexandria used to be, Alexandria in the 19th century and the early 20th century used to be more prosperous than Europe. Alexandria, Greeks and Italians used to go to Alexandria to find jobs. Now it's the other way around. Egyptians go to Europe to find jobs. Europeans used to come to Alexandria to find jobs. When Alexandria was homogenized and everybody who was seen not to fit in that homogeneous identity that Arab nationalists believed in, all these people were expelled. Alexandria lost a lot, but we gained because they came. They came to us. There's been Greeks in Alexandria probably since the days of Alexander the Great, and now there are none. So our society represents a more natural way of interaction. We recognize diversity. We have an agreement that we live within that diversity. So, but the new generation don't understand that, and you are right in thinking that the political system may change.
All right. Listen, Dr. Nadim Shehadi, our guest, a professor, correct? You're a...
Well, I used to to be. Now I'm more of an administrator.
Okay, well, very informative stuff there. Nadim Shehadi, Executive Director of the Lebanese American University with New York headquarters and academic centers around the world. Nadim, it was a real pleasure having you on the show. Just
Thank
a
you.
terrible topic, to have to discuss, and we hope that things will get better in Lebanon and for you. Given everything that's happening by you, I so appreciate you joining us this morning to give us a little insight into what's going on in Lebanon.
You're welcome. I'm going to stay and listen to the Afghanistan section. That's even more worrying than Lebanon.
All right.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
Go ahead. And then turn off your video, and then we'll do that way you'll be able to listen to the Lebanon section while we're talking. Okay?
All right. To the
All
Afghan
right.
section.
Thank you, Nadim Shehadi, our guest. We're going to take a quick break here, and when I come back, we're going to welcome Baker Atyani and Niloofar Rahmani, Niloofar is the first female fighter pilot for Afghanistan, and we're going to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Imagine you're on a train track. Somewhere miles away, a train is headed your way. Can't see it yet, but it's coming, slowly but surely. If you have prediabetes or you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, you may be on the wrong track, and diabetes could be heading your way. Bit by bit, the danger is getting closer and closer. So should you stay on the track you're on now, or move to make a change and reduce your risk? If you have prediabetes or you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, you may qualify for the National Diabetes Prevention Program in your local community. This one-year program could be the ongoing support you need to put you on the right track. Not only did participants lose weight, they cut their risk of type 2 diabetes in half. Ready to get on board for a healthier future? Learn more about the National Diabetes Prevention Program and what else you can do to manage and prevent diabetes at michigan.gov/diabetes. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain. Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. The U.S. Arab Radio Network is proud to offer the Ray Hanania Show with veteran journalist Ray Hanania, the U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper. U.S. Arab Radio broadcasts content Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, WDMV 700 in Washington, D.C., and simulcast through stations around the country. Programs will rerun from 5 till 6 p.m. Visit us on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio, and we're also streaming live on Facebook.com/Arab News.
And welcome back to live radio in Detroit on WNZK AM 690 radio and Washington, D.C. on WDMV AM 700 radio, as well as broadcasting online on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and streaming live with Zoom video on Arab News at Facebook.com/Arab News. In this segment, we're going to talk about another very troubling political issue that's taken place in Afghanistan. It's very confusing to many people, especially here in the United States. We spent 20 years fighting the Taliban, and it makes me feel like back when I was serving during the Vietnam War. We walked out of Vietnam, Vietnam collapsed, and the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, took over the country. To help us understand what's happening, I have two great guests. Niloofar Rahmani, who is the co-author of the book Open Skies, My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot, a book she wrote with co-writer Adam Sikes. And also we have Arab News correspondent Baker Atyani, who is covering Afghanistan as the Taliban takes control. Niloofar, Baker, welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Let me ask first if Baker can give us kind of a situation there. What's happening at this moment? I saw the press conference where the Taliban spokesperson was saying, if everybody just follows Sharia law, everything will be fine. What's the reality over there in Afghanistan today?
Well, I think the main challenge now in front of the world and the Taliban, will the Taliban talk the walk? Will they really respect human rights? Will they actually reserve all of these 20 years achievements, mainly for women, for freedom of expression, the infrastructure that you can see today in Kabul? I visited Kabul first time 1998, then in 2002. After that, Kabul has completely changed, the face of Kabul, the infrastructure, the buildings, the life, the style of life even. So will the Taliban actually build on this, or we'll see again the same brutal regime? I hope not. The signals that the Taliban have been given for the past few days since they have controlled Kabul seems to be okay, but we need to wait and to see, will they be able to bring in all the other Afghan factions into the interim government or the next setup in Afghanistan.
Niloofar Rahmani, you probably, having been in the U.S. Air Force, women in positions of flying fighter jets are amazing to me, and you had to have overcome huge hurdles having lived in Afghanistan to get to that position. Tell us, first of all, about what life was like for you when you were a fighter pilot, and later, as you look at what's happening to Afghanistan, do you have the sense of confidence that things are going to go in the right direction?
Well, if I say it is going in the right direction, I am lying, because that's not the case. As a little girl, I grew up during the Taliban regime back before 2001. And I have seen and I have been witness of everything been given away from a woman. And that situation has always been a nightmare to me. And growing up, I just wanted to do something for my country, give a woman a voice, have them to raise their voice. How long? We are living in 21st century. Why we should be abandoned? Why we shouldn't have a right to speak? And of course, and for me being a freedom, a symbol of freedom for Afghan women, do what I have done and fly and wear the uniform. It never been easy. I had to overcome so many barriers, obstacles to be able to just find my place. And now, to be honest, I am very afraid for the freedom of a woman, all the rights that has been given to a woman during this 20 years. Those little girls that during this 20 years, they were raised and they grew up. All they saw was freedom, have a freedom of going to school, be educated, do what they dream to do, and there wouldn't be anything against them. Now I can openly say it's all gone. I have a friend and loved one back in Afghanistan, and what the reality is, it's completely different than what we see and people report, because what my loved ones see right now, it's completely different. There's no woman already in the city. One woman got killed because she didn't have a burqa on. And we see the violence in the city. But I don't know how it seems everything is okay in Kabul right now. That's not what my family, my friends back in Afghanistan is seeing. I get text messages, calls from them that they are screaming, they're crying, they're begging for help. They are saying that they will be killed. Please help me. And it surprised me. Where is the humanity?
You think that was
completely gone?
You think it was a mistake for the United States and the West to kind of walk away from Afghanistan the way they did?
I'm not saying United States or the world had to stay in Afghanistan forever. No. And to be honest, I am very, very disappointed on Afghan government. The way Afghan government abandoned me 7 years ago, that I was begging for help from my life because I've been threatened by the Taliban. I had almost had my brother killed because of the violence of the Taliban. And they abandoned me. They let me to just be dead. And now they abandoned the country. Honestly, I am very disappointed on them. And to be honest, talking about if this decision was right or not, as an Afghan woman, I think it was wrong. Why? Because what happened during this 20 years? America has spent so much money. They lost so much life. And it's all gone now, over one night. This is going to be a disaster for the world. This is a war against women, and this is going to continue. And I am loudly speaking for the world that they are watching and they are seeing to stop this. I have seen women that they are in big fear for their life and they are begging for the help. Nobody is listening to them. If you think this was a great government, do you think anybody would do that? Anybody beg for their life? They wouldn't, if they would think this will be for their best.
And Baker, do you get that sense from people there that these fears, are they that great also from the people that you've talked to, or are they stuck there and they have this hope that we hope it'll be better? But I've never seen the Taliban, in my opinion, again, be good. I think Niloofar has a great point. I don't know if we could trust them, but that seems like where we're left. What's the feeling of people there in Afghanistan?
Well, certainly everyone is hoping for the best. And at the same time, I understand what Niloofar is talking about. And this is, I believe, the common feeling and the fear that I guess every Afghan woman and young men and women in Kabul and in even northern parts of the country are feeling. That is because they have experienced how Taliban had governed the country back from 1996 to 2001. So I don't blame them. However, I believe politically, Taliban now are more mature. I think they want the international support, and they don't want to live in isolation. They have changed, yes, but have they changed enough to say that they can actually respect human rights? They can respect even the people's rights in the country? I guess this is this is a big question, and I think with the Taliban as a I could call it a radical group would still would still consider anything in the society based on the Sharia or the Islamic Sharia. Yesterday, the press conference of Zabihullah Mujahid, he said will certainly be given the women right to go to work, to schools, but under the Islamic rules. So, as I said, it's a very challenging time in Afghanistan, and I'm not sure will the Taliban actually walk the talk.
Yeah, we're gonna take our quick final break here at the Ray Hanania Radio Show, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking with Niloofar Rahmani, the author of the book Open Skies: My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot, which he co-wrote with Adam Sikes. And we're also honored to have Arab news correspondent Baker Atyani, who is covering the changes in Afghanistan as the Taliban takes control. I'm Ray Hanania. Let's take our break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
New Dawn Academy provides your kids with a curriculum that's rich in science, technology, engineering, and math.
We want students to really experience what problem solving looks like. What does it mean to build things together? And really working on those analytical skills is what makes New Dawn Academy's program very unique.
This school will certainly provide them with academic excellence, but also state-of-the-art buildings and inviting to students.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is proud to offer the Ray Hanania Show with veteran journalist Ray Hanania, the U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper. U.S. Arab Radio broadcasts content Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, WDMV 700 in Washington, D.C., and simulcast through stations around the country. Programs will rerun from 5 till 6 p.m. Visit us on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio, and we're also streaming live on Facebook.com/Arab News.
Yeah, there's a terrible feeling here in the United States that everything has gone sour in Afghanistan when the Taliban takes control. With me are Niloofar Rahmani, who is a co-author of the book Open Skies: My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot, written with co-writer Adam Sikes, and Arab news correspondent reporter Baker Atyani, who is covering Afghanistan as the Taliban takes control. Niloofar, do you have any confidence that you, for example, would be able to go back to Afghanistan and not fear for your life with the Taliban in control?
No, certainly no. I will have a fear because I know what happened years ago in Afghanistan. The stadium of Kabul, where they used to stone women, this is going to happen again. And I will be one of them to be stoned on that stadium.
Well, we don't want you to go back there then. And Baker, I know that, as a political story, we can only go by what they do. And so far, I know that they know everybody is watching. Do you get a sense from people that they can trust the Taliban at all? I just don't see how anybody can trust them.
Well, the United States has trusted them, and the way that the United States left Afghanistan, it's left Afghanistan for the Taliban. The regional countries, they've started contacting the Taliban. They have started meeting the Taliban leaders. So there's kind of the world is the world is listening to their interests. They are looking for the interests, and at the same time, there are legitimate concerns for the Afghan people that the world community somehow have ignored. The way that the United States evacuated or left Afghanistan, rather the way that the United States have invested in Afghanistan for the past 2 decades, really there's a big question mark. The army that the United States have invested on for the past 2 decades completely melted, disappeared in just maybe 2 or 3 weeks. The Kabul, which is supposed to be the most secure city in Afghanistan, have fallen in just few hours. So where the $1 trillion that have been invested there, almost like $40 billion, the United States used to spend every year in Afghanistan for the infrastructure, to build the army, to build the law enforcement forces in Afghanistan. What United States was able to secure from the Taliban, that they won't use the Afghan territory against any other country. They won't allow militant groups to work from Afghanistan to again work against the United States or any other country in the world. This is what the United States have secured from the Taliban over the past 20 years.
Yeah, that's it's still so, because it's so much like what happened in Vietnam. Both of you are too young to probably remember that, but I was there at the height of it in 1975 when we fled, and then basically the exact same thing happened. It did turn terrible for many, many years. Eventually, it got back on track, and now we have relations with Vietnam. And things seem to be better, but Niloofar is somebody who grew up in that environment of the Taliban and the threats and everything. What made you want to get into, flying a plane as an Air Force pilot? That would seem a little unusual for a woman who grows up in that environment back then.
That's a very interesting question, because as a little girl, I actually grew up during the civil war in Afghanistan, where the Taliban was in the country, and as having a very, very tough childhood and living under the Taliban's regime, seeing my own mother, that she get beat up by the Taliban just because she didn't have a men support with her outside, and just to take her child to the hospital. And also, being a girl, always been told, you cannot do this, you cannot go to school, you cannot choose for what you want. I actually been sick of it, really sick of this. And seeing that no man would do anything about this. I haven't seen entire years of men raise their voice in Afghanistan and say, hey, stop this. Women are human and they need to do something. They need to have the right to be educated, go to school, choose for their life. And, growing up under all that violence, honestly, I just wanted to be a bird and fly away from all this violence, because I've never been in an airplane. I didn't know who pilot is or what pilot is. And in 2001, being, just a teenager and seeing the U.S. invaded Afghanistan and their fighter jets and airplanes are flying over Kabul and trying to get rid of the Taliban. And it just amazed me to think, what if I was there and save my country and fly and be one of them? Because it just seemed so powerful to me to fight against, what is not right and what you want to change. And I just wanted to serve my country, wear the uniform, fight against something that it's not right, and something is taken away from just a human being, which is a woman. And over years and years, everything been against women, and it's basically a war against women. And I absolutely believe that. And I just wanted to do that, just to be a voice and just to be a voice for a woman in Afghanistan that they think if they raise their voice, they will be killed or they will be punished for what they did, or their own parents or their own family will kill them for what they have done. But there's so many reasons behind it. And I have always been proud of what I have done and wear the uniform and serve my country and fly. And it always amazed me.
And you have no confidence then in where this is going to go, that it's not going to end up in any positive way. You could never go back there. You would never go back.
Unfortunately, for me, as the world knows, a woman has a right to be in the part of the military. Every country in the world, they have a woman that they are part of the military. They wear the uniform. They fight against the enemies of the country with their brothers the same time. There's nothing against them. There's no barriers. But that's unfortunate that I had to go through that just because what I have chose for my life to do and serve my country, I had to go through all that and be punished for it. And unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case, but I have been abandoned by my own government, that they told me that they will torture me or put me in jail. And I'm not even talking about Taliban. I'm not even talking about the local people, that they've been all against it. And I would love to be positive and think positive and hope for the better. How many years Afghanistan been in war?
Yeah.
Every day. Afghan women, Afghan people, they're hoping the future will change, but it gets worse and worse. Honestly, as a woman, Afghan woman, growing up during this 20 years of freedom, having a right to do what I want to do and speak for myself, I never thought this will be the end of it.
Yeah.
This is really scary. I never thought. And I am just putting myself on the position of the little girls that they are shocked by the situation at the moment. How can I be positive? My heart doesn't let me be positive.
I can understand that. Baker, I'm going to give you the last word because we are almost at the very end of the segment. Any final thoughts that you think need to be brought out at all?
Well, I think so. The Taliban are coming to power again. They might give some share to other factions. They will impose their own way of rule in the country. The United States concerns would be addressed by the Taliban. I don't think the human rights issue, women's rights, would be that much pressing matter for the United States or international community. We will have another North Korea, maybe another Iran, another Myanmar in Afghanistan in the coming future.
Baker, listen, Baker Atyani, a reporter with Arab News who is covering Afghanistan. Baker, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It really was a pleasure to talk to you. We have to have you back again. And Niloofar Rahmani, who is a fighter pilot, the first female fighter pilot in Afghanistan, female, who wrote the book Open Skies, My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot. I urge our listeners to go out, find the book Open Skies by Niloofar Rahmani. Niloofar, thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. I share the concerns that we all have about, having seen what they did. I want to believe things are going to be better, but I know it's frightening. So a final thought, Niloofar, you got about a minute, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, absolutely.
I would thank you so much, and thank you for your thinking and your support, and thank you for your service. And you know exactly how it feels, and to go through all the situation, and a country can be abandoned like that. So my last word for the world will be that please don't be silenced. Don't look that they are just Afghans, whatever. Just let them live their own life and go through all this. That's when the humanity comes first. And I don't want the world watching the little girls that they are being taken away, the 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, as the Taliban slaves. And they're taking them away in front of their parents' eyes. And the world is going to watch and be silenced.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. Baker Atyani, thank you again. Niloofar Rahmani. Open Skies, My Life as Afghanistan's First Female Pilot. Thank you both for joining me. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be back Wednesday morning next week at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.